the next piece, I knew the goal tree, and it was probably the very first time I tested it with a customer of this company called us in because they had some trouble. And we conducted first a diagnosis. And my first question to the CEO was, well, tell me about your goal, because I was just trying to put the goal tree into action. And he said, well, we would be lucky if we survive next year. And I had blank, and I said, but how compelling is this? Do you really think you will make your people stand up and fight? I probably assume they will stand up and run. So you cannot communicate on that. And I proposed him, well, I propose you a very simple approach. First, we restate a compelling goal, and then we work for the few critical success factors, and then you turn to your people and you ask for the necessary conditions. So I had a very quick lesson on the board, and, well, fine. So we crafted the goal, which was politically correct and compelling enough. And after that, with his two closest subordinates, we went down to the critical success factors. And yeah, in a couple of hours, I explained the logic of how we do that, and they tried to throw out some of the critical factors. And, well, we just froze as it was, and we said, well, we'll continue another time. And I never got to have the chance to have this other time, and I suspect in between they had some hidden agenda and a hidden goal they didn't want to share with me, especially not for the critical success factors. Because working with the people underneath, we heard say that it would not be a bad thing if this subsidiary of a bigger group would be bought up by their competitors. And my guess is here it was the first time I encountered a mafia goal. It means they had a hidden agenda, and then they didn't want me to be involved in that. And I'm pretty sure it was a kind of thing like that, because when we went into the financial figures and so, it was so curious, so strange how they arranged and fiddled with the figures that probably there was something very illegitimate behind it. So if a mafia goal exists, well, I met one.
Well,
I suspect I met one.
That's very interesting. And you did bring up a very interesting and important point, and that is none of this, whether it's the goal tree or the current reality tree for determining a problem, is effective if you're not getting the true story from the people. If they've got something to hide, then one of two things will happen. You'll have a nice looking product that just isn't functional in reality because they're not going to follow it. And the other is that you may get a wonderfully logical current reality tree that doesn't identify the real problem, but everybody says, yeah, this is the case, this is the fact here, and yet you try to solve it and it goes nowhere. And this is what I refer to as the entity existence issue. You remember, those of you who've been through the course, you remember the buffalo theory? Mm-hmm. The idea that this entire tree is as logically connected as you can make it, but because there are one or two statements in the tree that are patently not true, not valid, can't be verified, the entire tree falls apart. If you don't know what these are, you have no way of avoiding the fact that the tree in the analysis is going to fail. So there is a certain amount of, shall we say, ethical honesty that goes with dealing with somebody who's helping you. If they're not going to tell you the truth, it's better to know it up front and say, then I'm not going to bother doing this because it's not going to work.